I trusted my husband. While picking up our son, he moved to Spain with his mistress instead. My phone buzzed, just as I was signing little Mike out of daycare. I barely glanced, thinking it was just Dustin texting me about dinner plans. Instead, I read this. Moving to Spain with Tracy. Transferred the savings to my personal account. Good luck paying rent. I stopped cold, pen hovering mid-signature. Mike tugged on my arm, totally unaware that our lives had just been nuked. Mommy, did you bring my dino snacks today? I pasted on a smile that didn't reach my eyes, scribbled my name on the sheet, and texted back the only thing I could manage. Thanks for the update. 3 words. That's all it took to hide the full-on emotional tornado going off inside me. Tracy, his admin assistant, no less. And our life savings. 8 solid years of scraping, planning, saving. Just gone. Rent on our Chicago apartment was due in 3 days. I'm Isabel Morrow, 37. Single mom, I guess. And Dustin? He just ghosted on us through a text like we were yesterday's trash. All I ever wanted was something simple. Stability for Mike. A home where we felt safe. And maybe, just maybe, a break from Dustin's chaotic, self-absorbed mess of a life. But nope, instead, I got blindsided. He cleared us out and skipped town. As I held Mike's little hand and walked him to the car, he looked up and asked, "Where's Daddy? Is he making spaghetti tonight?" I swallowed hard. Daddy's on a trip, buddy. Lie number 1 of what I already knew would be a long, exhausting list of sugar-coated half-truths. We'll have pizza instead. Back at the apartment, I plopped Mike in front of his favorite cartoon and got on the phone with the bank. The customer rep was all polite and chipper until she confirmed my worst fear. Dustin had yanked the whole damn $42,731 out of our joint savings and dumped it into his personal account. Technically, legal. Morally, straight up evil. I opened up our checking account, praying he'd missed it. Balance, $347.12. Rent, $2,200. Cue panic mode. Then my phone lit up again. This time it was Helen, Dustin's mother. She didn't even say hi. "Isabel, what the hell have you done? Dustin says you're refusing to let him see Mike." I was speechless. "He's moving to Spain, Helen. He drained our accounts." "Don't lie to me," she barked. "He showed me your texts. You're threatening to keep Mike from him unless he pays you more alimony. I raised a good man, and he's not going to be blackmailed." She went on and on, full Karen mode activated. And that's when it hit me. Dustin wasn't just leaving. He was rewriting the whole damn script, casting himself as the victim and me as the wicked ex-wife. And Helen? She bought it without question. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was about fighting back. For truth. For justice. For Mike. Dustin and I met 9 years ago at a publishing event in New York. I was grinding hard as an up-and-coming editor at Crestline Press. He was Mr. Charisma, doing marketing for a rival house. He swept me off my feet with handwritten notes, cute gifts, and wildly over-the-top date nights. 6 months later, boom, wedding by Lake Michigan. Just like that. The first couple years? Honestly, they were solid. We moved to Chicago when I landed a promotion to senior editor. Dustin snagged a decent marketing gig without breaking a sweat. We bought a cozy condo, took the occasional getaway, and made plans like people who actually believed in forever. Then 4 years ago, Mike came along. Our whole world shifted, and so did the power dynamic. We agreed I'd scale back from full-time work to be there for Mike, and I took up freelance gigs from home. Dustin's career kept us afloat, but that's when the weird little cracks started showing. Random charges popped up on our credit card. Nothing huge, just off. Dustin began staying late at the office more often, always with the same line. Just making up for your lost income, babe. Meanwhile, Helen, the queen of passive-aggressive jabs, started inserting herself into everything. Mike needs structure. Isabel cuddles him too much. And Dustin? He'd just sit there like a statue, never backing me up. 2 years back, we sold our condo. Dustin swore we'd make bank investing the equity in his buddy's startup. I didn't love the idea, but he sold it hard, said it was a smart move for our future. Spoiler, the company tanked in under 8 months. When I brought up going back to work full-time, he waved it off. Mike needs you. I've got it handled. Trust me. And like a fool, I did. Even when I found receipts for expensive dinners on nights, he swore he was stuck at the office. Even when he started leaving his phone face down and dodging calls in another room, each time I'd push, he'd toss out just enough of an excuse to make me second-guess myself. Then 3 months ago, he came home with big news, some promotion, that meant occasional international travel. He made it sound like our big comeback story. More income, time to rebuild our savings, finally breathe again. Right around then, he also started gushing about Tracy, his new assistant. She's a lifesaver, keeps my calendar tight, knows what I need before I say it. Yeah, I bet she did. Then last week, I stumbled on a Barcelona travel guide tucked in his drawer. When I asked, he chuckled. Oh, that? Just research. The team might open an office out there someday. I caught the flicker in his voice, the way he wouldn't quite meet my eyes. That stupid guidebook should have hit me like a freight train. Instead, I brushed it off, like every other red flag before it. I didn't want to see the truth. Not until it blew up in my face. The morning after Dustin's gut punch of a text, I dropped Mike off at daycare and drove straight to his office. I wasn't going to let him vanish without a word, not without facing me, not without handling the fallout for our son. Dustin I married. Yeah, he could be impulsive, reckless even, but heartless. I didn't want to believe that, but the second I stepped into the building, the look on the receptionist's face said it all. Gone was the fake office smile. In its place? Awkward tension. I'm sorry, Mrs. Morrow. Dustin doesn't work here anymore. He blinked. What do you mean? He was literally here on Monday. She fidgeted with her pen like it might save her. I'm not really supposed to say, but he resigned 2 weeks ago. Yesterday was his last day. 2 whole weeks. While I was meal prepping, filling out preschool apps, and pretending we were still a functioning family, he was pulling off his exit like some master con artist. I walked out of there in a daze. My legs felt like jello. I made it to the parking garage before I called Will, Dustin's so-called best friend. Hey, Isabel, he said cautiously. Are you doing okay? My voice cracked. You knew? Dead silence. Then, he made me promise not to say anything. Said he needed a clean break. A clean break from his own kid. I tried to hold it together, but the fury started leaking out. 8 years of marriage, and the man bailed like it was a bad date. I told him it was a mistake, Will said, but Tracy makes him happy. He said you, and Mike would be better off without him dragging you down. Tracy makes him happy. Those words hit me like a sledgehammer. I'd suspected, sure, but hearing it from Will? That made it real. That made it disgusting. Did he tell you he emptied our accounts? I asked. Will went silent again. Jesus, Isabel! I didn't know. I had no idea he went that far. His voice dropped. That's seriously messed up. When I hung up, I just sat in my car, staring at the dash like it might give me answers. This wasn't some impulsive midlife crisis. Dustin had been planning this escape route for weeks, maybe months. And when I got home, a certified letter was waiting for me. Divorce papers, filed a week ago. He cited irreconcilable differences, like this was some mutual breakup instead of a full-on desertion. His new address was listed in Barcelona. And get this, he was requesting that I take on all parental responsibilities. No visitation. No custody. He wanted out. Attached was a note from his lawyer. Mr. Morrow believes you have sufficient savings for this transition. He will not be providing spousal or child support. I dropped onto the couch, pages slipping through my fingers, and just stared at the ceiling. Every single thing I thought I knew about my life, about him, about us, it was all a lie. He didn't just ghost me and Mike. He made sure to steal our money, frame me as the villain, and then block the exits. Then my phone lit up again. Dustin, landed in Barcelona. Don't contact me. My lawyer will handle everything. And just like that, something shifted. The grief? It burned out. In its place? Rage, cold, focused, blazing. I had a son to protect, a roof to keep over our heads. Step 1, figure out the rent. Step 2, document everything. Step 3, find a damn good lawyer and burn his entire game plan to the ground. And for the first time since that coward hit send, I let myself cry. Not because I missed him, but because now I knew exactly what I was up against. Once the tears dried, only one thing echoed in my head. Dustin seriously underestimated me. Hell, he always had. 3 days after his cowardly disappearing act, I found myself sitting across from Rose Carter, a divorce attorney my college friend swore by. Her office was plain but spotless, exactly like her. She flipped through the mountain of documents I'd dragged in, then looked up with calm steel in her voice. Let's be real, Isabel. What your husband did is morally disgusting. But legally? It's tricky. Since you were married, he technically had the right to move that money. He swallowed hard. My voice cracked as I tried to hold it together. But here's the upside, she continued. Judges hate this kind of shady abandonment. We can file for emergency child support and try to freeze whatever money he hasn't hidden yet. She leaned in. But we need proof he's still earning income. Otherwise, he'll keep playing the broke card and dodge responsibility. I nodded, already mentally compiling my war chest. Screenshots of his texts, the $42K withdrawal, the divorce petition with his shiny new Barcelona address. But proving he was actually working over there, from 4,000 miles away, that felt impossible. That night, running on fumes and pure desperation, I called my folks back in Michigan. I didn't even have to finish the sentence. We'll cover the rent, my mom said firmly, and we're driving out tomorrow. You're not going through this alone. My hands were trembling as I snapped photos of the birthday card and the sickeningly sweet note. Then I kept digging, laser-focused. I gathered tax documents, investment records, our marriage certificate, anything I could weaponize in court. That's when I found the jackpot. In the drafts folder of our shared computer, there it was, a saved, unsent email to Tracy with an attached resume. His new job? Meridian Global, Barcelona. Start date? 2 days after he nuked my life via text. Armed with this goldmine, I marched back into Rose's office. She skimmed through everything, eyes narrowing with each page. This is it, she said, almost smiling. We can hit him with emergency motions today. Child support, asset freeze, maybe even force him back into US jurisdiction. For the first time since Dustin detonated our lives, I felt something close to hope. What now? I asked. First, we file. Then we subpoena Helen. If Dustin's working abroad while ghosting his kid, the court needs to hear all of it, loud and clear. The next morning, I was still riding that momentum when a message from Dustin's lawyer slid into my inbox. $5,000 in full settlement of all claims. Rose scoffed. They're testing your desperation. Don't take the bait. That night, Dustin finally messaged me directly for the first time since fleeing the country. Take the settlement, Isabel. You're not getting more. This fight's only going to drain what little I offered. Try being reasonable for once. That smug, arrogant tone. It lit a fire under me. I didn't reply. I just took a screenshot and added it to the growing pile of receipts, showing exactly what kind of man he really was. 2 days later, we got an emergency court hearing scheduled. That afternoon, something totally unexpected happened. I got a call from an unknown number. Hi, this is Jenna. I used to be Tracy's roommate. I found your contact info in some of her stuff and, well, I think you need to know what they were planning. I held my breath. Tracy's been talking about this Spain thing for months, she said, her voice shaking. They've got this whole plan to disappear, stash money in places you can't reach, and make the legal fight so expensive you'll give up. My brief flicker of hope dimmed. Jenna went on, telling me about how she overheard them bragging about offshore accounts and setting up residency in Spain to stall court proceedings. I'm sorry, she finished, but I figured you deserved to know what you're up against. The next morning, as I was getting ready for court, my phone pinged again. Dustin, so I hear you're dragging my mom into this. Bad move, Isabel. Drop it now or you'll regret it. His threat didn't scare me. It focused me. Rose, and I stood outside the courtroom, giving our game plan one last pass. Then the doors opened. His lawyer walked out, one of those slick guys in a tailored suit, all fake charm and smug confidence. Mrs. Morrow, he said with a nod. I'm Mr. Hoffman, representing Mr. Morrow. And right behind him, Helen, dressed to impress, purse clutched like armor, wearing that same judgmental sneer she always saved just for me. Helen stepped through the doors looking every bit the social queen she fancied herself to be. Not a wrinkle on her dress, not a strand out of place, just that same cold, judgmental stare I'd seen for years. You should be ashamed, she hissed, ignoring Rose's hand on my arm. Trying to extort my son when you're the one who drove him away. Before I could fire back, Rose cut in smoothly. Mrs. Morrow, since you're here, we'll be calling you as a witness regarding your financial contributions to your son's escape from his family. Helen flinched, just slightly, but her voice didn't crack. I have no idea what you're talking about. The hearing kicked off, swift and precise. The judge listened, flipping through our stack of evidence, Dustin's financial vanishing act, his new job overseas, and signed off on every motion we filed. Emergency child support, partial return of assets. It felt like a win, a solid one, but something didn't sit right. Why the hell had Helen flown all the way to Chicago for a basic emergency hearing? The answer came the next day. My phone rang, an international number I didn't recognize. Is this Isabel Morrow? A woman asked, her accent crisp. Yes. Who's this? Lucia Chen. I'm the HR director at Meridian Global Barcelona. I'm calling regarding your husband, Dustin Morrow. My stomach twisted. Yes? We received an email from you regarding Mr. Morrow's custody case. Due to his non-disclosure of legal issues in the US, he has been terminated. I blinked hat. I didn't send any email. A pause. Well, someone using your name did. They included personal documentation, custody references, and threatened legal action if we continued employing him. My mind clicked into place. Helen, she'd impersonated me, sabotaged her own son's job just to prove he couldn't pay. A calculated move to kill the judge's ruling, make Dustin look like the poor, helpless dad who wanted to pay but just couldn't. Miss Chen, I swear to you, I did not send that message. Can you forward it to me? Minutes later, I stared at an email filled with twisted half-truths. It included court filings, custody terms, and even documents I'd only just compiled for Rose. Which meant someone had been in my apartment, and the only person who'd been there? Helen, back when she pretended to support me after Dustin left. I called Rose immediately. This is identity fraud and a direct hit against a court order, she said, furious. We document everything. We file new motions ASAP. While Rose built the legal nuke, my phone rang again. Dustin? You vindictive, he snapped before I even said hello. You got me fired? After everything I gave you? That wasn't me, Dustin, I said calmly. That was your mother. Silence. That's insane, he said, but I heard the shift. The doubt. Why would she do that? To make it look like you can't afford support, to sabotage the court order, to push you further away from me and closer to her version of the truth. He went quiet again. You're lying. But the edge in his voice had softened. Look at the documents they sent, I told him. Those were in my apartment until your mother visited last week. The line went dead for a few long seconds. Then Dustin finally muttered, I'll call you back. 10 minutes later, ping. Email from him. Subject line. You want the truth? Inside was a bombshell, a thread of texts between him and Helen that shattered what little illusion I had left. This wasn't just some midlife meltdown. It was a premeditated erasure. One message from Helen, dated 3 months earlier. Once you're settled in Spain, we'll work on getting full custody of Mike. Isabel's history with depression after he was born will help us prove she's unstable. I just sat there, stunned. The postpartum depression I had clawed my way through, with therapy, strength, and yes, Dustin's supposed support, was now their weapon. They'd been plotting for months, not just to leave, not just to take the money. They wanted Mike, and they wanted me out of the picture. This wasn't about legal strategy anymore. It wasn't even about money. This was war. I sent everything to Rose. She called me back less than 5 minutes later. We're filing new motions. Today. Identity theft. Custody conspiracy. Fraud. She also filed a police report to officially document Helen's crimes, something we could lean on later, when we asked the court to throw the book at her. You've got strong footing now, Rose said. But Dustin still has distance on his side, and he's still got most of your shared assets. She was right. We had proof of the plot, but not the cash trail. We needed something the judge couldn't ignore. And then it hit me. I grabbed my phone and dialed Will. He answered on the second ring. I need your help, I said, skipping the pleasantries. For Mike's sake. Guilt practically poured out of him. What do you need? You were his closest friend. Dustin must have bragged about where he was hiding the money, where it was going, how he planned to stay afloat in Spain. Will paused, long enough for my stomach to twist. Then, he mentioned an account in the Caymans, said his mom helped set it up years ago, some tax shelter thing. I didn't think much of it at the time. Did he mention a bank name? Anything useful? First Caribbean International, I think. I'm sorry, Isabel. I should have told you sooner. I never thought he'd actually abandon Mike. No matter. I had what I needed. A trail. Now all I had to do was follow it and take everything back. There was a long pause on Will's end. He mentioned something about a Cayman Islands account. Said Helen helped him set it up forever ago, for tax reasons or whatever. I didn't think it was shady at the time. Do you remember the bank? I think it was the First Caribbean International. He let out a shaky breath. Look, Isabel, I'm sorry. I should have told you earlier. I never thought he'd actually walk out on Mike. This was the break we needed. A lead. But it wasn't enough. We needed hard proof, account numbers, transfers, bank trails, something undeniable. Then I remembered something Dustin had been stupidly consistent about, his passwords. They always revolved around Mike's birthday and our wedding date. With fingers shaking, I logged into his cloud backup and punched in a likely combo. Boom! I was in. And what I found? A full blueprint of his betrayal. Folders labeled by date, screenshots of wire transfers, email threads with Helen detailing the offshore setup, even a damn document titled Custody Strategy. In it, they laid out the whole sick plan, how they'd paint me as mentally unstable, cite my old postpartum diagnosis, and make a case to rip Mike from me once Dustin got settled in Spain. I didn't even flinch. I just forwarded it all to Rose. She called me within the hour. Her voice was clipped but electric. This is it. This is what we needed. I'm filing to freeze the Cayman account and pushing for international enforcement. 2 days later, ban. Our first massive win. The judge granted our motion. Dustin's Cayman account was officially frozen. But of course, the snake fought back. His lawyer came out swinging, claiming I'd hacked Dustin's cloud and violated his privacy. For a moment, it looked like our momentum might stall. Then something weird happened. Tracy called me. Directly. Her voice wasn't smug like usual. It was shaky. Isabel, we need to talk. Dustin's falling apart. Not my problem, I said, cold. Please, she begged. He's talking about flying back to Chicago to fix things with you face to face. I don't know what he's planning, but I'm worried. He's not okay. A chill crawled up my spine. Dustin had never been physically aggressive, but desperate men. They're unpredictable. Why are you telling me this? Because this isn't what I signed up for, she snapped. He promised a clean slate, not stalking his ex, and lying to me about money too. That made me freeze. He's hiding money from you? Yeah. After the Cayman account got locked, he told me not to worry, that he's got backup funds stashed somewhere else, an account even Helen doesn't know about. This could be huge, but I knew Tracy wasn't doing this out of kindness. So what do you want? I asked. Protection, she said flatly. When Dustin finds out I talked to you, he's going to lose it. I need some kind of deal. Immunity. I don't want to go down with him. I didn't answer right away. I can't promise anything without talking to my attorney. But I already knew. I was going to make sure she gave us everything. Then figure it out. Fast, Tracy warned. Because Dustin's flying back to Chicago. Tomorrow. And Isabel. The way he said it. It was scary. Something in his eyes was off. I hung up and immediately called Rose. We worked late into the night, drafting a proposal, immunity for Tracy in exchange for every single detail, bank records, statements, proof of the offshore stash, and a full sworn statement exposing Dustin and Helen's custody scheme. Tracy didn't hesitate. Within the hour, she sent it all. Bank statements from a hidden account in Liechtenstein, holding over $200,000 of what was legally my money. That was the last piece we needed. We filed for an emergency restraining order and got it. Hours before Dustin's plane touched down. When he landed, airport security was already waiting. They stopped him at the gate, slapped him with a restraining order, and a court summons for the emergency hearing the next morning. That's when my phone rang. "What the hell is this, Isabel?" he growled. "I came back to fix things. With a one-way ticket and no hotel booked?" I replied coolly. "Nice try. The hearing's at 9. You'll want a lawyer." The next morning, Dustin showed up looking like he'd been chewed up and spit out by his own lies, rumpled, tired, and way out of his depth. He sat down across from me in court with a twitch in his jaw, realizing too late that his house of cards was about to collapse. Rose laid it all out, like a chess master, calling checkmate. The offshore accounts, the fake job termination stunt, the conspiracy to steal custody. Then came the knockout. Tracy's sworn statement, complete with timestamps and receipts, showing Dustin had planned this betrayal for months and had lied about everything. When Rose presented the custody strategy doc, where Dustin and Helen had plotted to weaponize my postpartum depression, the judge's face hardened. "Dustin?" He looked like he might puke. "Your Honor," Rose said calmly, "we request the immediate return of all marital assets, full custody of the minor child for my client, supervised visitation for the father, and a forensic accounting of all funds hidden by Miss Morrow and his mother." Dustin's new lawyer, clearly scrambling, tried to flip the narrative, claimed I'd forced his client to protect himself. The judge didn't even let him finish. "Counsel," she said coldly, "I've reviewed the evidence. Your client systematically defrauded his wife, abandoned his child, and conspired to manipulate this court. Save your performance." And then, bam, judgment delivered. All bank accounts frozen and handed over to court control. Dustin's passport confiscated. Temporary full custody granted to me. A criminal referral sent to the DA for both Dustin and Helen on charges of identity, theft, and conspiracy. Dustin stared at me, but I didn't flinch. He wasn't looking at the broken woman he thought he'd left behind. He was looking at someone who'd risen from the wreckage. His grand escape had officially become his cage, and it didn't stop there. In the weeks that followed, forensic accounting uncovered not only our missing marital funds, but even more money Helen had stashed away under the radar for tax evasion. They both got slapped with civil penalties. Helen was charged for impersonating me to sabotage Dustin's employment. Dustin's reputation? Torched. No one in the industry wanted anything to do with him after the court records dropped. As for Tracy, she flew back to Spain, alone. Immunity deal fulfilled. Chapter closed. The divorce was finalized soon after, with terms heavily in my favor. I got everything. Mike stayed with me. Dustin got supervised visitation only, which, unsurprisingly, he almost never used. I got it all back. Every cent of the marital assets. Full legal fees covered. Child support locked in, tied to Dustin's future income, so he couldn't just sit around pretending to be broke to avoid responsibility. But the real win? Watching Helen's perfect little social mask crack. Her country club circle, those women she used to brag to about her ungrateful daughter-in-law, found out she had committed identity fraud to torpedo her own son's job. The queen of moral superiority was suddenly the punchline at brunch. 6 months after Dustin tried to nuke our lives with one text, Mike and I moved into a quiet, cozy condo, paid for with what was rightfully ours. It wasn't flashy, but it was ours. No lies in the walls, no betrayal lurking in the closets, just peace. One night, as I tucked Mike into bed, his little dinosaur-themed room filled with warmth and bedtime books, he looked up and asked, "Is Daddy ever coming to visit?" I didn't sugarcoat it. "I don't know, sweetheart, but we're going to be okay either way." And we were. I went back to editing, this time full-time, with a publisher that actually respected family life. Flexible hours. Décent pay. Mike blossomed at his new preschool. Happy. Safe. Whole. The sharp sting of Dustin's betrayal dulled into something else, something slower, deeper, a kind of battle-hardened clarity, a quiet resilience that only comes from walking through hell and coming out, standing. Funny thing is, that last text Dustin ever sent, "Good luck paying rent," he meant it as a final stab, a victory lap. Instead, it became the first line in a story I never thought I'd have to write. The story of how I took my life back and became stronger than I ever knew I could be.